something that people will actually like want to see, want to use, all that kind of stuff. So, first off, how long have you been in crypto in general? Like, how long have you known about any kind of cryptocurrency? And then how long you've actually been participating in it, whether it's like buying some, selling some, trading some.
Yeah, so I've been with Dash Core Group for a little over 3 years. And I started crypto probably about 6, 8 months before that. So that's when I knew about it well before that, but I only started getting really interested in it probably about uh, 3.5, 4 years ago, probably. And yeah, I just found Dash and got really, really interested and learned more, and that just the connection made sense. So
Yeah. So what was it about cryptocurrency that first enticed you in to, care about to care about it to the extent of which, now you're kind of part of it?
well, I mean, I've been in financial services for like 25 plus years or so. So that this innovation is pretty cool. I mean, of all the
Mm-hmm.
things that I've been involved with in financial services and payments, uh, yeah, it was really exciting to see all the different things out there and just how fast it was growing. Um, so the growth was a huge part of it. The just the simple fact that it was in the financial services, which I could leverage my previous background for things and um, Dash in particular. Aside from all the great features it has, there was that element of if you call it humanitarian, but all the works and things that are going on in Venezuela
Mm-hmm.
and the opportunities that it can create to help people in real life situations. That was very attractive to me.
Yeah, for sure. It's like my the thing that I cared about in the very beginning about cryptocurrency was I liked that it was free money, as in not like you don't have to pay for it money, but it was money that no one really controlled, that anyone could use, open participation. Because I know that the best things in life tend to happen with boundless opportunities, right? Whenever you have like the emergent tech sector or anything like that, that's where the most cool stuff kind of happens. And that's kind of where I got interested in it. But when I first sent and received, I was like, wow, this is something else, because this is before like the PayPal, before the Venmo era of like payment apps, when there was just mostly bank cards and stuff. And I was just like, you mean I can just download an app and you can just zap me money and I can zap it to that person and then that's just it? And it clicked that this was a huge thing. And now, of course, the legacy world has advanced since then, but even so, it's just the fact that there's some kind of a digital cash. It's just like, here you go, and it's just that easy. That kind of really got to me, and I'm sure the UX of Dash today has a lot to do with like building on that kind of vision. And so, would you mind just? And by the way, for anyone who's been watching like recently or just jumped on the YouTube stream, which I finally got working, hi Brian Foster, product owner for Dash. I'm skipping the intro thingy because whatever. If you want to ask a specific question, of course you can in the live chat, but I prefer the ones that either in Odyssey, the hyper chats, which you type in a little message and click the little credit next to it and throw a couple credits behind it, that'll show up at the top. Or if you go to cointr.ee/the desert links, as you can see right there on the screen, then you just leave a little Dash donation there with a little message, and then I'll be able to expand it out. And yeah, we'll be able to ask those kind of questions live. So, but in the meantime, what would you describe your role as being? Because there's a lot of people who are in Dash who just bought some or just got into crypto, and they don't know very much about company structures and things like that, and they're just like, oh yeah, that Brian guy, he's the guy who answers my questions in the DashPay alpha channel, and he's the guy who's always being beleaguered by everyone complaining, why doesn't this work? So that's as far as people know. But like, what all do you do?
Good question. I do a lot of different things, I suppose. I mean, my key responsibilities have been, around the mobile wallets.
Mm-hmm.
So, although I started out, 3 years ago in kind of other roles, that's what I'm currently, doing at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also helping out, and kind of temporary filling the same role for the platform team as well, as we kind of look at getting some more bodies on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
which is actually kind of nice, even though it's additional work or two different jobs. It's really quite nice because I can help kind of focus and prioritize things on the platform team development that are absolutely critical for the DashPay wallet. So I have that intimate, viewpoint on both of those roadmaps and development activities. So that helps. I think both teams actually. And yeah, it's building out the features, it's defining the features, working with the dev teams to get them implemented, and ultimately,
Yeah.
maintaining the roadmap.
Yeah. So there's a few questions that I gathered and contributed some of my own. That is a good way to getting it started before it flows to wherever it flows to. But um, not necessarily in perfect order. But why don't we just start with just um, broadly speaking, and then more narrowly, what's Dash Core Group's product strategy? And of course, Dash is like a natural resource, right? It's just like a network that, you know, anyone can use, anyone can build stuff on, anyone can get to the treasury and get funding to do that with. But Dash Core Group, which is building the core protocol, also builds some products on that. So, for example, like the mobile wallets and things like that. Those might be some. So, generally speaking, what is Dash Core Group's product strategy and vision? Like, what kind and scope?
Yeah, I mean, so this our mantra has been pretty consistent for a while, just as an org. Remittances, Venezuela, easy developer tools,
Mm-hmm.
via the platform, and merchants and gaming. Those are probably, in a nutshell, the five verticals that keep business development pretty busy.
Mm-hmm.
And all that flows through to at a product level. We conform to that wherever we can. I mean, the organizational strategies trickles down into each of the products, obviously. So we follow you know, those same verticals.
Yeah. And so, for example, um, one thing that seems relatively clear is obviously the core protocol, platform, the core wallet itself, the full node regular core wallet that, what as I like to call it, the mixer, because that's the number one reason I use it for, is it's just the best way of like doing mixing because, and then of course the mobile Android wallet. Of course, there's an iPhone one as well, which is the same, but that's kind of my experience on that thing. So one thing that seems like, so for example, another wallet that I use that I like is the Dash Electrum wallet, which is especially on mobile, which is a lot more feature rich, I guess, but a lot less user friendly, and has a bunch of have things like mixing in it as well. But so that kind of a thing is kind of outside of Dash Core Group's focus and scope as far as like it seems like for example privacy on mobile or mixing on mobile in this case, that's not something that Dash Core Group is specifically focusing on. Is that kind of correct to assume?
Yeah, at the moment, I don't have any immediate or near-term plans to put private send in the mobile wallets.
Yeah. So when we're talking about let's just say the basic mobile wallet, right? Um, do you have in mind who the intended user is for something like that, and what kinds of things that they're looking for in the wallet that maybe other kinds of users might not be looking for?
Yeah, I mean, so just to maybe
Mm-hmm.
preface this with, we've been going through these kind of roller coasters as far as
Mm-hmm.
data capture and getting more user focused data.
Mm-hmm.
We go into lulls because of usually resource constraints, but um, I mean we're trying to satisfy at least two different user groups. For the most part. Obviously we have our extreme enthusiasts, those that really really love the crypto space. They love everything about crypto. And they want to continue having the benefits of a decentralized network like we've got.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's trying to get those other users that are not as familiar and either don't know much at all about crypto, but maybe they get introduced to it and convinced that they should try it, and we need to try to make sure that that experience, is as easy as possible, so that it's just as easy for them to use it as it would be for them to do PayPal or Venmo. So those are
Yeah.
the two main user groups that we're targeting.
Yeah. And it seems like like, to be honest, having interacted with lots of different people over the years, trying to get them into crypto, trying to, it seems like for the second use case, I have been extremely disappointed outside of Dash, outside of, which is a great sign for the work you guys are doing, because there's just something about crypto that people can't figure out what the average person kind of wants, and the average person is, I guess, not invested enough to really complain in the right way and just saying, I need this product to do this, and then actually being willing to pay money for it and that kind of thing. And one thing that I've always noticed that's the smoothest thing on the Dash Wall, which is now, I guess, the predecessor of DashPay, is the ease of getting to that first payment, right? The I do you remember when when you I go to the start screen where it like asks you for your PIN, you have like the quick send and quick receive. Do you remember
Mhm.
when that was conceptualized to implement?
I think it was before my time because we we had a decent amount of discussions actually when we did our redesign,
Mm-hmm.
as to whether we should keep those or not. It was good. It was a good debate back and forth, but ultimately, um, it seems very valuable. I mean, we have a extremely fast network. We can get transactions processed wicked quick. We
Mm-hmm.
need to make that point of sale activity the same experience, and that's the
Yeah.
quickest way to do it, right? You hit one press and you get there. So
Yeah. And so, for example, to compare with, not talking smack or anything, but to compare with the Bitcoin.com wallet, which is known as one of the better Bitcoin wallets or better Bitcoin Cash wallets. Um, and when I go to use that, because I once in a while I use Bitcoin Cash, I have to weed through a few little things and look for the button that says even Edge, which I'm a very big fan of Edge, the multi-coin wallet. It's the where like when I'm showing new people, it's like, okay, where's the send button? Where's the? It sees this little one here. Oh, that's where it is, and there's these little things that just kind of like death by a thousand cuts that kind of get in the way. These are the best in class kind of wallets, but they're just something about you hit that little dash button, screen pops in, quick scan, quick receive, and you get to what you're looking for, which is the a lot of people aren't moving around and managing stuff. A lot of it is just they want to receive money and they want to send money. Those the biggest things they do, and just having that in adds that kind of a you know user like really smooth, simple user flow that people kind of ask for and stuff. And I guess I'm glad to see that in obviously continue on in DashPay with the addition, of course, of usernames and contact lists, which should make things a whole lot more feasible.
mhm. Yeah.
Now, what areas or in specific products do you think would fall outside of what Dashcore Group specifically is trying to get done with their resources, but is something you're a fan of, but otherwise, what I would really love is if people develop this, or what would be great for is for people to work on that. Just that's not us.
Yeah. So, DCG, obviously, we've got our main product strategies and verticals that we focus on. And, you know, payments is certainly, that is
Mm-hmm.
our core thing. But I mean, everyone knows platform can do more than just, payment or support more than just payment related products. So, um, I definitely would like from a platform side to see what the community is able to do, outside of payments, but that doesn't mean payments won't be involved, right? So it
Mm-hmm.
actually can help drive payment specific type products that might piggyback on top of those other things. So that's one thing. The Insight is another, product that's out there. Ultimately would probably be replaced by Dappy, or could be, with a new front end on Dappy. But um, getting outside contributions for Insight, I think, is would
Mm.
be extremely helpful. It's more of a distraction to us at the moment than anything else. So
The Insight Block
having
Explorer,
support, yeah,
right?
right? Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
And just from a long term perspective, just getting Dash into people's hands, right? Like, how can we get Dash to people in the easiest way possible? And, dApps and things that, solutions that would, somehow let people earn Dash or, get it as rewards or whatever. That I think would be a huge value add, you know. So,
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. And uh, like for example, we on the previous podcast, which is not specifically Dash related, but I had Ben from Delta Engine on, and he's the one who developed my Dash wallet, which is the easiest way for anyone to get Dash right now because you have like a Discord tip bot, Twitter tip bot, you have a bunch of little tip bots everywhere, and you throw a rain function in the main chat where just everyone gets like a little bit of, and then now you have some Dash. Like, what do I do with it now? And so yeah, that's an example of one of those good ways of getting it to people. That's been the worst part. The worst part about cryptocurrency for a lot of people is fiat currency. Is the worst part about cryptocurrency is how do you get in from your fiat currency. And so like most people have bank accounts, they have money of some kind, and it's not that hard to let's just say you change your cash for some other cash at like a foreign currency exchange, or it's not too hard to just set up your banking app or your Venmo or whatever it is. It's not that bad. It's always a bigger barrier when you have to say, oh, why don't you just use Dash? Oh, how do I get some? Okay, well, here you go. Let's sign up at this exchange. Take this picture with your like driver's license looking like this. Put it in, and then just wait for this to get cleared, and then you have a hold on ACH for this amount of time, and like, oh, it just that's the biggest pain point. So yeah, when you're having these other kind of like gamified systems or other ways like that people can almost like points get some Dash, then that's like the easiest way to sort of get involved in the whole ecosystem.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And business development at Dash Card Group, they do a great job of getting partners and
Mm-hmm.
doing promotions and things exactly for that reason. But often there's some technology or development involved with some of the more complicated things. So having outside contributions, doing things like that, I think is a great opportunity.
Yeah. Now that of course reminds me of the KYC question, right? Because in the background of this is obviously the best part about cryptocurrency, as I mentioned, is cryptocurrency. The worst part is the fiat end of it, and obviously right now I believe the one integration into the Dash mobile wallets at the present time is Uphold, or there was like some others that were going to be implemented. I don't remember have they been implemented yet or not.
So we finished the majority of the coding
Mm-hmm.
for a second one that we're going to be releasing hopefully within the next month or so. Um, we went through quite a bit of different testing. The partner that
Mm-hmm.
we're working with has been improving their system, so we've been just kind of working together to get the best experience we could. It's going to be phased rollout. We're going to have a couple different features, but it'll initially just be buying with Visa with a Visa card,
Mm-hmm.
um, and later we're going to implement some swap related features as well. There's actually quite a decent roadmap associated to this particular partner and the features that we're going to release. But that's it in a nutshell, really.
Yeah, and so the thing that, of course, stuck out with me with those things, and because I'm the atypical person, I'm the unbanked person just living off crypto and stuff. So not necessarily the standard person with with whom who would be kind of this would kind of be shipped to. But one thing I noticed, of course, is these are KYC based services, right? To where you give your ID or whatever and kind of to get in, and that's I mean obviously that's to be expected for an exchange, and that's also expected as far a credit card type of thing, which have seen a different, which a little bit of a tangent. I've seen a few different ways of getting of that's been implemented where there's like levels of KYC. Of course, this is jurisdictional as well, right? Where I've seen, and I don't know how long it lasts, but I've seen there were some services that did like a no KYC card buying or only a phone number KYC card buying for like a $50 limit or something small like that, and anything over that, then you have to KYC. Is that going to be the case with this thing, or is it kind of like the full KYC from day one as far as like the card buying partner thing is concerned?
Yeah, it's really mucky waters here. So
Yeah.
KYC is a real big bottleneck,
Yeah, it sucks.
particularly on mobile. Yeah, I mean, it's a little more smooth on desktop or computers, but when you're really trying to onboard someone on a phone, it's not ideal. No matter, I mean, I've played around with a lot of different exchanges, and as we were trying to find the right partner to integrate with, next, I was really searching out ones that didn't have KYC, or like you said, it had those
Hmm.
stages. Um, and I was what I was finding was I'd spent all this time evaluating these, and then literally this was maybe 6, 8 months ago, maybe. So many things were changing regulatory wise, and all those solutions that I was looking at so closely that had those KYC stages or
Hmm.
whatnot, or had very little to none, they all started implementing more robust KYC. So all that time spent trying to find them, it seems more, it seems more useful to just look for the ones that have a good existing KYC process and or
Hmm.
those that are already, that are constantly trying to improve it. Because if if we continue to seek out those that don't have it, inevitably they're probably gonna end up needing to do it. And if they're gonna do it, it's gonna be probably pretty crummy
Hmm.
as their initial implementation.
Yeah.
So yeah, so my focus is I'm trying to just find the partners that have a good process, and there are no real good processes, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
try to find the best ones we can.
Yeah. And so it seems like um, it's so the area of focus for this kind of thing. Because, for example, it seems like buying with a credit card, like, let me give an example really quick. Um, Library right now in their main website, Odyssey, which is YouTube alternative, over 22 million users right now, which is pretty good for a blockchain project. They have an built-in way of like buying credits because there's a lot of people that have no idea what crypto is that are just coming in trying to use this system, and you can't upload files without using the blockchain. Of course, miners need they need fees and stuff, right? So they have a little credit card system, but unfortunately, at the present time, the U.S. is not supported by their partner, and you know that's a little weird. That's a little unfortunate, especially because like the U.S. is a big market. So, are you targeting mostly like a U.S. based audience as far as like U.S. based user base that's with a bank account and the KYC and all that? That's kind of fine, or is it like are there other key markets you're looking for, or yeah, basically what are the in terms of these integrations and stuff? What's the kind of markets you're going for specifically?
Well, I mean, certainly anything that we can integrate that can get, that Venezuelans can access is would be an absolute priority. They're far and few between, um, but that is definitely a priority. I mean, it's within the verticals that we want to stay with. This next partner does not support the U.S. yet,
Mm-hmm.
but they do have a great deal of features that they're planning as time goes on. So what I look at is, aside from that good KYC process, is, a good flexible API that I'll be able to tap into all the different features, that they start coming out with easily. Um, Ultimately, I'd like to have a range of integrations so that the user, it can be a little bit more transparent to the user as far as what service they use.
Mm-hmm.
We can give them, the best rates or whatnot, depending on where they are or where they're supported.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. It's it's, it's one of those things where like Venezuela obviously is one of the biggest targets because of the hyperinflation situation and other things like that. And of course, one of the biggest challenges is just the lack of infrastructure surrounding it at that time. And that's it's kind of funny because a lot of the actual education about and demand for and infrastructure surrounding crypto tends to be like US and Western Europe based at the same time as there's much less need or demand for actual usage for payments in those kind of cases. It's kind of
Mhm.
the opposite the other way around. So yeah, definitely having some Latin America supporting services right in the wallet would definitely help out with the group, over there. Now we're talking about competitors, right? Now it's one of those situations where it's really hard to define as far as a decentralized cryptocurrency that anyone can kind of build on. It's relatively hard to define who are your competitors and peers and things like that. It, relatively speaking, I mean, obviously you can compare with like, are you a Bitcoin Cash competitor because of the way network works? How about like a Decred competitor because of the decentralized governance kind of system? How about is it an Ethereum killer or whatever? As far as like that kind of thing is concerned, but as far as building actual products on top of that, it's a lot easier to define. As far as like, I want a payment app that runs on this that works just like that. Like I want a Venmo competitor that not necessarily wants to be 100% like Venmo, but I'm trying to get people who would want to use a Venmo to use this instead. Or, I'm trying to be a, you know, to bring back up Bitcoin.com wallet competitor. I want people who are using that to be like, no, no, just use this one. This is a better, easier one. Or I want to be a Western Union competitor because let's just say, you have enough conversion tools, etc., built into the wallet to where it can kind of function as a remittance system, even and that's kind of what the products is centered around. So, all that being said, right? What are the main industries, and then maybe name a couple industry players that Dash Core Group's product strategy kind of views as competition in main case, and what kind of are the principal ways of differentiation to that where Dash is trying to be better than those.
Yeah, so it's a good question. We've spent some time actually periodically looking at the landscape and trying to kind of, as you just said, define our competition a little bit better and monitor it a little bit better. Um, I kind of break it into, I guess, I'll say four different areas really. I mean, there's networks that we might compete with just whole, right?
Mm-hmm.
LC, PCH, XRP, XLM are probably the best examples. Um, there's actual wallets or payment products, that the end user uses,
Yeah.
i.e., Keybase, Venmo, PayPal, and whatever other crypto wallets you can think of.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's plenty of wallets that support Dash. And we I would say we compete on a feature level. Certainly, on ramps, any kind of features, is where we'd be competing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, FIO, any
Mm-hmm.
kind of username related thing, even though people might not recognize that it's not fully decentralized like we are or whatnot. That's often transparent to a lot of users. So any kind of username type organization or solution is, I would probably say, one of the bigger ones. And then platform has, two different kind of categories as well of competition. One is payment related competition. So your payment processors or like Plaid, Stripe, Square, things like
Mm-hmm.
that. And then data storage, related solutions. So like Ceramic, Reebox, and Fura. Those, we compete at both those levels. So it's kind of an interesting view to see all the different ways that we can be evaluated against. Obviously our
Mm-hmm.
network speed and costs and stability. That's what we always tout, for the entire network, and we try to leverage all those features with the wallets. So that's where we try to stand out.
Yeah, and something that's hard to get people to understand a little bit in the crypto world and outside of the crypto world, because outside of the crypto world, no one knows how crypto works, right? They just think, I send like Bitcoin is fast for micropayments, and like what? They don't just have no idea because they haven't actually used it. They've just traded on Robinhood or whatever. And
Yeah,
then when you get to and then when you get to the crypto world, almost everything is like almost all implementations, as far as I know, is for merchant software and node implementations, tend to be just like a fork of Bitcoin. So like the Bitcoin version, they just do one that supports Dash, and so they don't check for extra. They don't check for chain locks, for example. They don't check for instant send, and then you basically have like, well, it all works the same way. And then we have this weird situation, which this is one of those things that I'm probably going to get into flame wars with people on later. But It drives me nuts when people start marketing Bitcoin Cash as instant. It's so fast, and they use these kind of languages, and it's like, I mean, there's nothing special to it. It's every cryptocurrency can do the same thing. Of course, you have replaced by fee based ones like Bitcoin, for example, that have less finality when you broadcast a transaction, but just about everything else, you can it's not instant if no service will take it until at least 10 minutes in, at least one block in. And but for the most part, like, that advantage is something that I have I have not seen enough people kind of wrap their heads around that it's an advantage. And of course, when you have used some services like Bitrefill, like I tend to, you do really see the competitive differences. But one thing I did notice, by the way, is a lot of modern coins, mostly because they're proof of stake or they're modeled differently, tend to have like an instant confirmation kind of a setup, or very fast confirmation, or a few seconds and things like that. Have you noticed this shift in the market where there's like the old school waiting for confirmations thing is more of a thing of the past? Have you kind of seen that, and has that been more challenging to differentiate Dash's unique features because there's more like that?
I can't say I've observed it on other coins. I mean, for us, what I think a really good reference is the FastPass network, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you can see a difference, when it's noticeable when an exchange, doesn't require six confirmations anymore, and it's immediate. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's huge when an exchange starts doing that. So all the FastPass partners that the team are working with, to get them on board, that's super important, because that really shows users, how quick things can be, with major implementations like that.
Yeah, and so we definitely see that kind of a thing. And um, what are so you mentioned FIO, by the way, and or Foundation for Interoperability, and
Yeah.
that's probably like the principal username uh, based system that I've kind of paid attention to. Also, as a competitor, because I like to make sure dip my toes in kind of everything to see where it's at. Uh, are there any others that have kind of stuck out as like, oh, this is giving us competition in the username kind of a space?
There were at least two others, and I'm going to be honest on this one. I did not have a chance to dig that up,
Mm-hmm.
but I was looking at a couple others about a year ago. I'm not sure if the projects are still up and running or not, but all the ones that was finding, and I need to learn a little bit more about FIO as well. But
Mm-hmm.
all the ones that I was looking at that time, there was always some kind of a centralized component, and or um, they were reusing addresses, so
Yeah.
it didn't have that same level of quality that ours does.
Yeah, and that's going to be something that I think might take some weird things happening for people to appreciate the value of privacy. And I don't mean like super dark web, narrow privacy, like that kind of stuff. I'm not talking necessarily that stuff, but like a lot of people don't realize that when you use something like Dash or Bitcoin, you every time you send, you usually get a new address to send to. And so you can't
Yeah.
really see how much they have, but you can kind of correlate when they start moving those funds around. There's a little bit of that stuff. But when you have stuff like Ethereum, for example, or, Nano or something like that, they use account based things, which they just one address. And especially with like Ethereum, it's a little bit crazy that like you just have one address, and then say it's not that, for example, ENS and unstoppable domains would resolve to just one address. Is there is only one per wallet for Ethereum. And so you send someone Ethereum, you kind of see everything. You get the entire financial history thing. And then or you type in their username, and then it just spits out the address, and you don't even have to send them any money. You can just put that in a block explorer and be like, oh, this is how much this person has. And it's a little of a crazy thing. And no one cares right now, which is baffling to me that like, if I can see how much money you have and you don't care, like you just haven't been robbed yet. But it might start to happen, in which case people are going to start to look into these username systems and then just demand something like Dash. Have you seen much of the demand for a more complete kind of username system rather than just like the simple static address pegging?
Can you ask that question again? I'm not sure I understood that.
Yeah, so when we're talking about the way Dash's address, like at Dash's usernames work in a much better way than just say a username tied to a static address. Have
Mhm.
you seen much demand for that kind of a thing, like a better form of that, or is everyone still the market largely just lumping all usernames in together at this point?
I personally think that the majority of users, the non, you know, true enthusiasts that know cryptocurrency, I
Mm-hmm.
think they're just looking for usernames. I don't think they, at least half of them probably don't even know the value, that we're talking about here as far as not having a static address. What's interesting too, though, is
Mm-hmm.
um, there are some regulatory aspects to this that actually butt heads with the value of not reusing addresses,
Yeah,
because there are withdrawal related regulations that exchanges have to follow and actually peg, and they might not have to, they might just do it to reduce their risk, but
yeah,
they have to link an email address to a single address whenever they do a withdrawal.
that's
So
crazy.
it's kind of intuitive, unfortunately. But
Yeah, and so basically, if you're withdrawing from an exchange, a lot of that, which is a domain I don't have any experience in because I don't really use exchanges, but like obviously you give your withdrawal address and you can change that frequently, right? So you could have your email address associated to, like, let's say 5 or 6 different addresses if you withdraw 5 different times and change them each time. Is that kind of how it works?
yeah, most of the ones I've worked with, you can do a different address. You just got to go through the whole email confirmation again. That's all. It's just extra steps, basically.
Yeah. So that's a bit crazy. I wonder how much that if the username setup could help where you peg your email address to your username, and because they have a connection with you in with your dash identities, right? Even though it's not on the blockchain where you can like forensically look in like that, they have their own record of their withdrawals and deposits and stuff to and from that username. Do you think that's something that's would be feasible in the future, or do you think it's going to be more like old school with the exchanges still wanting to just peg to an address?
I hope so. I mean, what I'd really like to see is, I mean, we have a basic MVP, for our identity system, but there are a lot of really cool things, that you can do with it. Obviously, you've had conversations with, I think, a lot of people about,
Mm-hmm.
authentication type scenario use cases. KYC, that could even be something that, could get captured on our blockchain for exchanges to make that process easier across other services. Yeah, I definitely see that our identity system can be, improved and leveraged to help with that down the road.
Yeah. So that reminds me, Neil, kind of shifting over there. We did get a chat here from. Let's expand this out real quick. Um, Anonymous says, "Are usernames universal across all our decentralized applications, or can the same usernames be used by different individuals depending on the dApp that they're using? I'm biased towards a former for username exclusivity's sake, but I want to see if Brian has a view on it." So, yeah, our basic, and obviously a little, it's a nuanced question with a little bit of a strange wording, but basically, if I have an identity, right? Let's just say I'm the Desert Links because I'm usually the Desert Links. And that's my main username. I have a Dash identity, and I have a DashPay wallet with that identity. So that's my DashPay username. But then I also use Djembe, the Twitter clone thingy, and then I use a different one. Basically, am I going to be the Desert Links across all of those, or will I have different, or can I have different usernames with the same identity across those? Like, anyway, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So this is kind of more of a post MVP thing,
Of course.
but at least where DCG might get involved. But yes, the platform will allow, for multiple usernames. There's also another part of this where, other dApps, excuse me, other dApps need to be able to acquire credits and buy credits, right? So
Mm-hmm.
more often than not, you're going to have a username that you've loaded onto, say, our wallet, and you're going to have some other DApp that you're using, and you're going to fund it via our wallet,
Mm-hmm.
and that it just provides funding for any other DApp that you're using with that username. Okay, so that's one, example of where our wallet would be working kind of in tandem with some other DApp. What was the other part of the question? Did that answer your question?
I believe so.
Okay.
I just had to answer the question here on the live chat. Now here we're going into your bread and butter, not just DashPay, but the DashPay Alpha program, which
Mhm.
of which I have been a proud member since probably the beginning, or as soon as I could get in on that, because I'm Mister Hands-on, break things, complain about it, and have people tear their hair out, but ultimately, hopefully, be grateful for. So there's been as soon as people hear about this, because this has been in 2015, late 2015, when Evan Duffield was first talking about this idea of evolution and usernames and stuff. Ever since that moment, people have just been like, I want to use these, I want to get my hands on this. And now that with the DashPay wallet actually out in some sort of a way, right? The fact there's something real that people can put their hands on, it's very exciting for a lot of people. So a lot of people have been like piling on to try to get in and like experiment with this on EvoNet and then testnet. Now, basically, what is the process, or where are we at as far as like adding new members to that, or like who's going to be part of that, and also what about the iOS side of things? Because that's not my side. I have no idea what's going on over there. And just I know a bunch of people have been saying like, oh, I emailed a while ago and I want to be. I haven't heard anything. I want to be added. They're getting impatient about that. So do you want to just sort of give the current state of the alpha program and the membership of it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. This is somewhat my baby, I guess. When you asked about things that I do here, this is mine. So we've got a little over 650 signups to date. About 75% of that is Android.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's about 180 what I call engaged users, so people that have actually installed the app,
Mm-hmm.
um, and or accepted, the invite. Um, we get about 5 to 10 new signups every week is kind of the rough average.
Mm-hmm.
Usually after a platform release, sorry, often we'll get maybe a burst, as well, because we have the blog post that goes out,
Of
and
course.
that often will drive more users. I think when we first went on the testnet, I think we had about 100, I think 100 new signups within the first week or so, I think, which is great. Um, and yeah, so iOS, just we're moving folks around on the team to try to optimize our development across the different products. So our iOS development slowed down a little bit. We're going to be picking up shortly though.
Mm-hmm.
Looking to get so platform just got released today, right? We're working
Nice.
to get our wallets upgraded to that version. We've already verified it on a smaller network, but now we just got to make sure we're stable and good on testnet. So I'm optimistic that both the first iOS testnet version should be out hopefully next week if we don't run into any issues.
Mm-hmm.
And similarly, the next version of Android, since we've been on testnet 4.3, that'll hopefully go out next week as well. Um, it's still going to be in what I'm calling round four, which is pretty much all of the features, the majority of the features except for invitations. And but invitations round five should be starting pretty soon with Android. We're actually quite close to that. So as long as we don't have too many things, unexpected work pop up, I'd say within the next. I committed to the quarter to start invitations, but hopefully within the next week we should
Yeah.
on Android. And that's cool because I mean then people don't even have to sign up. I mean they can, but they don't have to. They can just people can invite them. Anyone
Mm-hmm.
can invite. So that'll be really really cool to see. And it took us quite a while to design invitations and the flow of how it works, how you send one, how you accept one. So I'm expecting to probably get a lot of really good feedback from the community on that feature. Uh, the what else can I say? I knew this was going to be a topic. I wanted to take a couple notes here.
Yeah, of course.
So the active user contest hasn't really gotten uh, too much wind under its feet yet. But I'm hoping, particularly once we get invitations on both Android and iOS, I want to gamify that a little bit more. Right now, it's pretty basic. I just every round I look at how many contacts and payments and things all the users have made across the network, and I just pick the top five to kind of highlight on the Alpha Page website. So I just did that recently for round
Hmm.
4 since we wiped testnet. Uh, but I really do. I want to build that up a little bit, get some rewards and some prizes and things, make it a little more fun to get
Yeah, it'd
people
be
more
nice.
engaged. I want to get that engaged user number closer to the sign up number, if possible. So
Yeah, and
yeah,
like for example, when I jumped in at first and I just tried everything out, right? Start sending here, hit the backup button there, do everything. It breaks. Oh, there's a bug. We report it, and then I kind of like do what I can, and then next version comes out, and I try everything again to make sure everything works, and then it's as of now, I have not used the testnet wallet. I've not used DashPay very often because I just kind of did everything and now it works. And I mean, it as I've you can see in the Telegram channel and in the Dev Discord and stuff, it doesn't 100% work, right? But those are things like for me, it really works. So like I kind of atrophy once in a while. Once in a while, I get like a notification on my phone, like, oh, someone sent you more fake money, and then I go in there and try to send them back some things. Or every once in a while, I do a video where I take some screenshots about that, of like what this kind of a thing might look like. And so I'm like, oh, I need more transaction history with this person. So I send them some fake money back and forth for that. But yeah, so like having like a leaderboard type of a thing and prizes and, gamify, everything's gamified, right? It's incentives. It's how humans work. And so having that would really, yeah, I think at least on my personal perspective, drive engagement to some good levels.
yeah. I'm hoping.
Yeah, let me reopen this thing. I accidentally swiped out of this list with a lot of the pre-done questions. And of course, if you guys want to ask questions, thanks Anonymous for the dash test that one. Make sure you can jump in there and ask some more stuff, before poor Brian's limited time ends up running out. But it's definitely been great so far. Where were we? So basically, as far as that's the other thing is, are you familiar with the industry term when Evo?
When I don't think I've heard that one. I can imagine. I guess.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a joke, but basically, anytime anyone wants to talk with anyone in DCG, all they want to ask is when Evo or when is platform going to be released on mainnet. That's kind of the short thing. So of course, as soon as I'm like, hey, Brian's coming on the podcast, what do you want to ask him? A bunch of people ask variants of that question, but I'll just add some nuance to it, and make it a little bit more appropriate. So as far as the DashPay wallet itself is concerned, so obviously, for mainnet release, Dash platform, the architecture, the actual thing running on the network has to be completed and released on mainnet. And then DashPay is, of course, a wallet, an app, a product that runs on that infrastructure. So obviously, when both of those are out, like they depend, DashPay depends on platform, and obviously that's like a little bit of a different subject of like when platform's out, but hopefully this year. And but it's let's just say there's like the possibility that DashPay gets kind of polished up, ready to go, pretty much you know all good significantly earlier than platforms release, and just sort of like, or let's just say the opposite, that platforms out but no one can do anything on it because DashPay still far from being ready, and then it's like what. So basically, how is DashPay's development timeline kind of progressing? Is it looking nice? Is it being more delayed than you thought? Kind of around when is it looking like that part's going to be ready, even if people can't necessarily use it because they have to wait for full platform release?
Yeah, good question. So to be honest, minus the platform features that we still would have to upgrade to,
Mm-hmm.
if you're looking at it just from a user feature perspective, I mean, we could go to mainnet now. Really,
Mm.
what we need is the last, version of, or whatever the MVP platform version is, to make sure that we can upgrade to that, new protocol, and make sure that we're aligned with it. That chunk of work, you know, throwing a number, probably anywhere between 2 to 3 weeks, maybe, for that
Mm.
last, whatever the last MVP version would be. So they would get that out to us. Obviously, we'd have that before it actually starts rolling out to mainnet. So I mean, rollouts take a while, right?
Yeah,
For
of course.
core, we don't even know exactly how long it's going to take, for platform to roll out. But even if it was similar, you're talking at least a month or so.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives us ample opportunity to get that last final upgrade work done while it's being rolled out, or
Mm-hmm.
we might even we would have most of it done before we started the rollout, most likely. But we have that big period of time there where any last remaining work that we would need to do, we could do it. Invitations, although it's an exciting feature to have, it's we don't need that to go to mainnet. And
Mm-hmm.
in
Of
fact,
course.
we may even stage it a little bit so that maybe invitations are a second release, so that we can have a little slower adoption at first, so we can kind of take baby steps. So
Yeah.
we're kind of talking through different ways that we could roll things out, but from a timeline perspective, we're a fast follower with platform. We can we shouldn't I don't foresee any kind of delays that we'd have once platform's fully rolled out.
Mm-hmm.
We should be able to just release our version that's compatible with it.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously
Yeah.
great to hear. It's like one fewer thing to, to possibly go wrong. But how long has it been at this stage? Like, so let's just say, let's just throw a number out there. Say like 6 months is when platform fully hits mainnet or whatever, which would be which no one knows, right? So before anyone gets freaks out on a positive or negative side, just I'm just talking out my butt here. But when you're talking like that would mean that you guys are at least 6 months ahead of schedule, as far as I wouldn't say ahead of schedule, because obviously I don't make your schedule, but ahead of where you need to be to make sure it's out and available as soon as possible, right? And so, how long has it been at this stage of like basic doneness, like almost complete doneness?
Um,
Is it just like last week
well,
or so,
again,
or has it been like
it's
last
hard.
more?
Yeah, I mean, there's two kind of views of it, right? There's doneness of the user facing features of the app, and then there's other back end related,
Mm-hmm.
protocol level upgrade work that has to be done. So if we if we just look at it from a feature perspective, um, minus invitations, I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, round four is when we started on testnet, and that was late January, because we ran into a little bit of a bump in the road and on testnet. But I think we finally got a version out on round four in early February or late January, and that had the majority, minus some polishing things, that had all the key features. And then we probably spent. I mean, we've been constantly doing improvements and UI updates and other things just to polish things off
Mm-hmm.
from that point on, as we started into invitations. But um, could we have gone to, if we had all the protocol stuff that we needed, um, we could have we could have gone to mainnet probably in February, I suppose, on the wallets. It
Yeah.
just wouldn't have invitations. It wouldn't have been as polished as it is now. So, to be honest, the time that we're spending or waiting on the platform is not
Not
a
wasted.
bad thing in the respect to the mobile development, because we're getting a ton of feedback from the alpha program. I mean, and alpha program feedback benefits the wallets and the platform. I mean, it's helpful in all respects. So, and the time, when invitations go out on testnet too, like I said, that's an interesting UX. I mean, there's probably going to be a lot of things that we might want to change or improve on. So it gives us some of that time to vet these things out earlier, as opposed to on mainnet.
Yeah, and I'm really
Yeah.
glad the invitation bit is not only being worked on for release, but also is being worked on with such a leeway. Because if you think about it, like for me, I got Dash. I got Dash in my phone. I upgrade the wallet, and then it just says like, do you want to upgrade to platform, get your username, boom, take it, pay the fee, and then I'm there. It's for me, it's super easy. But then let's just say, oh, I want to have my, I want to set up my, a friend, and like, oh, you want to download this thing? Okay, well, how do I get a username? Oh, well, you need some Dash first. How do I get that? Well, I might sell you some or whatever. And it just becomes more of a complicated kind of a system. Uh, Not like it's still like workable, but it's still a lot more janky, right? Because then they have to have that initial experience of like scan the QR code and sends to like this address, and it's like, well, there it is, and it's who's it from. There's like that very small sliver. No, no, no. Let's just get past that really quick and hit the upgrade buttons. You have to deal with this ever again. There's a little bit of that stuff, right? But the fact that to have an invitation kind of system ready to go would just make it like set up all your friends, and like all you need is like one crazy Dash fan to just be like invite, 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 invite. And when we're talking about the friction of like KYC and stuff like that, let's just say one of those people decides to actually sign up and buy some Dash so they get some more. Now they can invite all their friends and stuff. And like of the people who tried out, a lot of people I don't think are going to say, all right, I'm sold. I'm going to go provide my sensitive financial information to a service so I can buy some of this stuff just to see if I like it. It's not usually that way. Usually people want to use it first and then play around with it, and then they see they get it and they think it's cool, then they want to get involved. And so yeah, just having that invite service I think could really send people to the next level as far as getting a lot of onboarding done.
Yeah, I'm really hoping so. And it gets us closer to that other user group that we talked about as far as the newbies, because the alpha program is largely enthusiasts, right? That
Mm-hmm.
have, decent knowledge of crypto, but you get the invitations in there, and then those enthusiasts can start easily bringing on other newbies and we'll get the feedback that we need. What did we not realize is hard for you not knowing about crypto? We did our best to figure it out on our own and with other surveys, but that raw experience of the alpha program, reaching out to people, their own family and friends, potentially, I'm really looking forward to some good feedback there.
Yeah, it's for sure. It's getting crypto has always been the hardest one. Uh, the seeing who you're sending money to and where it goes, like people don't know what like a block explorer. They have no idea. That's always been a thing too. The big thing that I'm sort of dreading, and I know obviously it's not an MVP issue for you guys, is like the backup issue, because people are not going to spend like half an hour setting up their wallet. They just want to like download it and get trying it out right away. But at some point they need to back it up, and at some point they need to, write down. Like I remember I was setting up someone of a older generation than me, let me just say, and as soon as they're like, oh, you got to back it up. Here's your seed words. They went and took a screenshot of it right away, and I'm like, oh no, okay, let's start over, different wallet, because people don't understand. And but even when you do that, it's like you write down a piece of paper, put it in a book, throw it in a closet somewhere, and you might lose it. The dog might chew on some of it. Like there's all this, and then, well, why can't I get my money back? I'm just going to call the folks at Dash. They'll get me my money back. And it's like, that's not how it works. That's like the thing that I'm just like clenched about. And I was talking to Ivan Shumkov a couple weeks ago about that, and about the possibility of like social backups, to where once you do that and you get a couple contacts, then you can leverage those couple contacts in case you lose your keys, and then you get back in. And that's something that's like, yeah, that's another thing that's going to be a barrier until it's done. In the meantime, I think we just have to do a really good job educating people on backups, and being super paranoid until then.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there absolutely are ways that we can improve that some more. Yeah, I've seen like drive backups too, but yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity to improve that. The um, yeah, just post MVP, I guess is the common word.
Yeah, of course. Now this is a little bit of a strange question. I don't say strange, but it's a little bit of a more nuanced question about the unit bias issue, as it's called, where basically And there's two components to this, to be perfectly fair. One is people buy things like Doge because it's cheap. And it's like, is it cheap? But I mean, the individual unit, they're like, I have 5 whole Doge. This is great. I have 100. Wow, I'm rich. And if it goes up, and people buying like 0.45 Dash, and it's just like, oh, I got a couple $100 or whatever it is, or whatever it is at current market rates, $100 at least, and then but they don't want to do that because like, oh, Dash is too expensive. A whole Dash is like a few $100. That's too much. Like there's the speculative trading unit bias. But here we're talking about, I guess, the practical unit bias of, like, oh, how much do I owe you? Okay, 0.0045 Dash. Like that's clunky, right? At these fiat valuations, of course, I remember back in the day when I first started using Dash and earning it and spending it, it was about 7 to 10 US dollars per coin. So that was pretty easy, right? Zero point 0.1 Dash is a dollar, right? And so usually it'd be like 0.2 is for a coffee or whatever. 1.5 Dash for like a meal or something like that. It made more sense back then. But basically, there have been all kinds of discussions on how to deal with this. Some people want to do a simple multiplication kind of a thing where everyone who has, say, a 5 Dash now has 5,000 Dash. Like you just change the units that way, which I hear is structurally very difficult to do at the protocol level, especially it would mess up a bunch of current integrations and things like that. And then there's other approaches, which would just be change the wallet displays to where to display like M dash, for example, but obviously find some kind of a more attractive way of displaying that. And obviously the Bitcoin world with like Lightning is everything Sats now, everything Satoshis, because the way the price of a single unit of Bitcoin has gone. So basically, just on that whole issue, have you given it much thought right now? And if so, I don't know, what are your general thoughts about that? It doesn't have to even be a solution because it's a big problem that a lot of people have been thinking about for a while. But what are your general thoughts on that issue?
Yeah. So, well, I'll start with protocol level change. I'm definitely not in support or in favor of that, at least not in the near term.
Mm-hmm.
That is just such a massive thing, right? I mean, like you said, exchanges, you got other wallets, you have education to the community. I mean, there's just so much involved with such a major change like that. Develop just whatever development efforts aside, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel this won't be an issue that I don't think can't be solved easily on the client side until people start actually pricing things in Dash,
Mm-hmm.
which, I mean, who knows when that's going to happen, right? Like your scenario of I owe this guy zero point 0.1 Dash. Well, do you really owe him zero point 0.1 Dash, or was it zero point 0.1 Dash at that time, and now you owe him a different amount? People
Mm-hmm.
are still fiat is still in people's heads. So I've got a couple things in my backlog um, that I'm looking to improve this. Someone reached out, at least one or two people did reach out on this and had a suggestion that was pretty much in line with um, with this, which is basically just having the default, whatever currency you last entered into the wallet, i.e., if you entered a US dollar amount, then the next time you go to the payment screen, it'll automatically default so that you're entering a US dollar amount as opposed to the Dash amount. You
Mm-hmm.
can still switch it, obviously, but I don't, because people are so focused on, and everything is still priced in fiat, I mean, people could put a Dash number in and keep plugging a different number in until they get to the right fiat. But most likely, people are just going to be putting in the fiat amount that's needed, and they're not going to care as much about the Dash amount. So that's the first kind of step that I was going to take to try to improve that. See what the feedback is that we get from that. See if that actually does solve the problem that people are feeling, especially as the price is going up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and another approach is similar to what you actually, I don't know if you were referring to the protocol level or not, but in
Yeah.
the wallet on the client, we could change the configuration in the wallet to say, like, show this denomination instead, right? That's a little bit more effort, development wise. And we actually did have that in the Android wallet at one point. We took it out as part of the redesign. But that's another approach that we can take is to let the user decide what denomination they want to see in the wallet.
Hmm. Yeah, that's it's kind of funny when we talk about like the pricing and things because right now people just care, like a lot of people are just speculators anyway. And then when you go to
Mm-hmm.
users, there's very few, but like every place I patronize for the most part prices things in goods and services. It prices the goods and services in a fiat currency, mostly dollars. And so, do I have enough Dash to cover this fiat denominated bill? Is kind of usually where I think. Now, it's been a little bit. There have been a few cases in my life. So, like right now, as far as what I think of, like what I have for savings and income, I'm kind of halfway between. On the spending side, it's almost all things cost in dollar amounts, which is honestly starting to get harder to figure out because of inflation. Like I remember, at the beginning of last year, my haircut cost $16. Then by the middle of the year is 18, and then now it's 20. So just and then not even to talk about the price of lumber, right? It's a little crazy. But in terms of like my own mind, I'm kind of halfway between fiat and Dash as far as the actual unit thing. Because I'm thinking like, okay, well, I made this many Dash this month, or I have this much at my disposal, and then like I have had a few times where people, where you think about, let's just say like a net worth, right? And most people think about it in some sort of like fiat terms, but I've had to like calculate, be like, okay, well, this is I still have the same Dash. What's that worth today? And I have to like think about the conversion and stuff. So it does take some time, and there have been times in the past where in certain within certain contexts I've thought about buying things or paying in units of crypto first and then dollar amounts second. And so for example, there's a great site. I think they're going through a redesign right now, but cryptoemporium.eu, which lets you buy and sell everything with crypto directly, which is where I got this phone from, by the way. And they price things in crypto depending on which one you do. So I remember doing the drop down thingy and switching it to Dash, and this just said it was like, I think this is like 2.5 Dash at the time, which is a lot of money right now. I think it was significantly lower. It was during the bear market at some point. I think I bought it. So yeah, like I was just thinking about this cost that many, and just looking at like we're right now, it's definitely for sure that we are in the fiat pricing, fiat denomination kind of a world. I can easily see, I can see that changing extremely rapidly though. As first off, the fiat pricing starts to become less stable to where it's like, I remember a movie ticket was $5 or whatever, where it starts to become like, I remember last week I paid $3 for a coffee. Now it's like $8. And when you start to get into weird situations like that, um, but yeah, that's it's an interesting, it's a good problem to have, I guess, to where people are using the stuff enough and having the stuff enough to where the fiat valuation kind of ideas are like they're not sufficient anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's going to take quite a while to get to that Dash pricing point. Venezuela, I think, is definitely the best candidate, to start into that mode first.
Hmm.
Probably. I mean, the more it's being used, the more merchants that offer it, the more people that are going to have it, the more that they're going to start, exchanging between themselves and not even bother going to some fiat. I think that definitely will probably happen there first, but I think it's going to take a while. I'm surprised actually that the site you mentioned, it must have. I'm assuming it still had a fiat amount as well. It just
Hmm.
showed both, or did it only show the dash?
You talk about Crypto Emporium.
Yeah,
Yeah, it only showed the dash there, and so I had to
that's
like
interesting. Yeah.
off, kind of do it myself, doing the calculation myself, and for example, like right now where most of the people are watching is here on Odyssey, and all the payments that are involved with that, whether it's just a normal tip, whether it's in the hyper chats, whether it's like an upload amount or staking amount, there's no dollar valuation anywhere on there. It's just all credits. And so, for example, I see this guy tipped 1 credit. This one tipped 5. This one tipped 10. This one tipped 25, etc. And I don't really know what that is in fiat level. Library's been around 20 cents for a while. It's been like 15 to like 45, kind of in that range, but like around 20 cents. So let's just say, you know, a 10 credit thing is, 10 times 20 cents or whatever. There's a little conversion, but it's like, I'm thinking in those terms already, in terms of the actual little thing. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's a fascinating thing. Uh, we're getting close to wrapping this up. If there's any other questions, throw them in now. Um, any other thoughts or things you want to get off your chest, Brian?
Uh, no, just I guess the alpha program. Back to that, my baby. Keep it up. Thanks for being involved and
Mm-hmm.
the patience. It is manually maintained by myself along with everything else that's going on. So there will be delays in the time that you sign up and get maybe a communication from me, and that could be
Mm-hmm.
multiple reasons. It could be because the next version isn't even ready yet, or it could be because we want to kind of update people in bulk, and so there's yeah, there's some lead time there, and thanks for the patience. But keep it up. I mean, we love getting the feedback. It's been great. I mean, it's been pretty much all positive, or at least constructive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even when things don't work, people have been very very constructive and helpful. So um, yeah, just you should get an update from me hopefully next week, one way or the other. Even if something doesn't work out as planned, you'll get an update from me, kind of letting you know when we're going to get that next release out.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much for being on and chatting. It's been, it's been a pleasure. I I'm always surprised to a certain extent at just how many different people are working tirelessly day in and day out to make this kind of a thing work. And it's for like this, especially like the sore subject of release dates that people are always like, wow, when is it going to be next week or whatever. It is always good to know, like, okay, there's one team that's, at least for MVPs, like way ahead of schedule. And I think that that's a good, a good thing rather than finding out the last minute the other way around. But yeah, so thanks so much for coming on, everyone. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the hyper chats and the Cointree super chats. Thanks for watching. And yeah, I'm not sure who's going to be on again in 2 weeks, but it's going to be a good one. Thanks everyone, and I'll see you next week.